Welcome to the Rise Above show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we turn our challenges and rise above and turn believers into achievers. Today, my guest is Carol Boston, and I want to take just a quick moment to thank our sponsors of the show. This is the 133 Approved Funding, and we thank them. They're a proud supporter of the show. And Carol Boston, let me tell you a little bit about her. She is an international best-selling author, award-winning speaker, and a business leadership coach. She is also known as the Queen of Reframe. And she helps you reframe into any challenge so that you can double or triple your income in record time. She brings discipline and being a professional. She's been a professional athlete and for 27 years of experience in sales and experts with Fortune 500 companies like AT&T, Sprint, and Paycheck to Paycheck. She says that she's relentless in supporting them to get results that they want. And Carol helps female business owners to know their value and to know their own power. And she's an advocate for them and teaches them to be an advocate for themselves as they rise up to become one of the lioness leaders they were created to be. So you can follow Carol Boston at facebook.com groups under fear, a year with no fear. So Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. So, hey, you and I have had contact with different things that we've been associated with. We've spoken on similar summits and everything. But I want to know, what led you to become an entrepreneur?
That's a great story because I'm known as the reluctant entrepreneur. I heard you talk earlier about having a plan. I didn't have a plan. This was a God thing. Trust me. So I'm an ex-collegiate professional tennis player who then, got to Florida, and I got that college scholarship, Patty, and I got to Florida and I became a professional speaker, all because those were three pivotal times in my life. I trusted someone else's vision for me until I could believe it for myself. And if we have time for one of those stories.
Go for it, because this is with the show, that it's important for people to know the story.
Well, let's go back to, I'll tell you, don't have time for all three, I don't think, unless we have time. I'll tell you the one about how I got from Dallas, Texas to Florida 34 years ago. So it was back in the spring of 1987. I was going through a divorce. Just picture it, going through a divorce. I had a pre-owned car and it caught on fire and the insurance company wouldn't pay for it, like some loophole. Now, I knew I didn't want to be a tennis teaching professional my whole life, but I wasn't sure at that time what I was going to do. So when my car caught on fire, I called my dad. My dad had been in the insurance business for 30 years. Now, my dad's got a real Southern accent. So I call him up and he says, "Now, Carol, I'm not in that kind of insurance, but I know somebody will help you get a car if you come home, even if you don't have a job," right? So off I went to Shreveport, Louisiana, got a car, and I went over to Dallas, Texas, was living with my second cousin. She was head of personnel for Neiman Marcus at the time. And she taught me how to buy the pearls and the navy suit and wear the heels and the pantyhose. Aren't you glad we don't have to wear pantyhose anymore?
I know. Isn't that something?
Now, it's important that it's the spring of 87. The U.S. government had just broken up AT&T and the Bell monopolies, all the baby bells. And this is when competition was fierce. MCI came in, Sprint came in, all these companies. And I got hired by a company called Metro Media Communications. And the lady who hired me said, "Can you come in tomorrow and meet my boss, the vice president?" So of course I said, sure. So I came in and the vice president interviewed me, and she looked at me and she said, "That's great. I'll see you in Miami in a week." And I said, "No, you won't." Now, mind you, I needed a job. I said, "I'm interviewing in Dallas. You have an office in Dallas. My friends from the tennis tour are in Dallas, and my family's 3.5 hours away." Pretty ballsy of me, huh? And I said, "I'm working in Dallas." And she calmly looked at me and she said, "But I need somebody really strong in Miami in a week." And I pushed back again. I go, "How do you know I'm strong? I've never done this before."
Because you pushed back, right?
I don't know, but here's what she said. She said, "Just trust me and be there in a week."
I just got goosebumps. I don't know why, but I just got goosebumps.
I got in my car, and a week later, I didn't know anybody in Florida. I didn't know anything about sales. I knew nothing about telecom, but I trusted her vision for me. And that led me into almost a 27-year successful sales career.
Wow. What a story, Carol. Oh my goodness. Again, goosebumps. I don't know if you can see them, but oh my goodness. And so that's, you and I had the conversation about, being led, being led by God or a higher power for whatever somebody's belief is, but still
Yes,
there's no answer, but some things just happen for a reason and we have no answer for them. Oh,
exactly.
so fantastic. So yeah, so tell us if you have more story to share, definitely
I
share
do.
those.
I
Yeah.
do. So after 26 years, I mean, I'd sold $70 million in revenue. I'd walked across the stages, gotten the awards, managed the people. I mean, I could do this in my sleep. I thought I had it made until the day I got that call and they told me they were cutting my territory by 80%. I'm like, 80%? I've been building this territory for 6.5 years.
Wow.
Well, you didn't have to tell me twice, right? I thought they were setting me up to fail. Now, I was a weird salesperson, Patty. I love large corporate structure and I'm a rule follower. Not true for most salespeople.
Right, right.
But a friend of mine whispered in my ear about an opportunity at a really small company, right? So I said, well, okay. So I went on the interview and they interviewed me twice. They offered me the job. They doubled my base salary plus commissions, gave me a director title. I could just see the potential.
Wow.
Now, I negotiated a vacation up front in my contract because I'd already paid for it. So there I was, 6 weeks into this job on vacation, being what I thought at the time, Maya Angelou has taught me different, being what I thought at the time was a good employee, staying in touch with my boss, the CEO, while I was on vacation. I do not advocate that for my clients. Now, I tell them, honey, when you're on vacation, you're on vacation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I get this email asking my opinion on something. I'll never forget. It was a Saturday morning. We were out in beautiful Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you have never been to the world's largest hot air balloon festival, you
Oh,
have to go.
okay. I've heard it is beautiful. I've heard it is a
In,
sight to be seen.
it's there's nothing like it. That morning ascension, you go down there. It's chilly because it's in October, and you get to talk to all the balloon. And anyway, we'll digress.
Right,
But
right,
it's
right.
our 50th anniversaries this year, so be
Ooh.
there. Um, so I answered right back, and I waited because he usually answers right back, and he didn't. We went out, we enjoyed our day, we had dinner, we had drinks, we came in, and ding, there goes my phone. Carol Boston, you've got mail. Here's what it said. It said, Carol, comma, that's what you really think? And it had 5 question marks behind it. Then it said, don't come into this office on Monday when your vacation is over. You're done here.
Holy Cheetos. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
Yep.
What? Oh, that blows my mind. Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I was like, I just got fired in an email. I don't get fired. What? So one of the reasons that I say that I help my clients advocate for themselves is I learned from that because I didn't advocate for myself. Florida's a no-fault state. So I said, whatever. I really thought I'd been set up to fail the whole time I've been here. That's a whole nother interesting story
Wow.
of the things that happened. I came back. I had an interview the very next day. And Patty, I was flown all over this country, 3 and 4 interviews deep. California, Palm Springs, Chicago, Austin, Philadelphia, Atlanta. And I was determined to get a job. I mean, I depleted my 401k,
Wow.
depleted it.
Right.
Now, here's one thing I want to tell you is that one of the things I've learned is actually going to be the title of my book, my next book. And it's, you can't read the label when you're inside the jar, and we're all in a jar,
Yes.
right?
So
But
true.
I tell my clients, I can read your label and I can help you write a new label, right? So you can throw your anchor into your future and let go of that story from the past.
Oh, that is sweet, Carol. Awesome. Awesome. So exciting.
But there I was in my jar. And I said, look, you created me. You know I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur. I do not want to own my own business. You got to help me find a good job. Literally 2 weeks to the day from that prayer, out of the blue, I get an email from a woman that I met out of town one time at a conference. She gifted me a $3,500 ticket to go to Los Angeles to study at Guerrilla Business School. Now, I tell people my God has a sense of humor because Guerrilla Business School was a foundational school for entrepreneurs.
Oh my goodness.
And that's what really, I figured, well, what I'm doing isn't working. I might as well go. So off I went to Los Angeles.
Wow.
And that's where I really first learned and kind of had this concept of you can't read the label when you're inside a jar. And we're all in a jar. And that's why I believe everybody needs a good coach. We can't see our own stuff. But the second thing I learned was about empowering questions, and I was amazed at them. And I was determined to master them. And I studied with the best in both empowering questions and in leadership. Nirka, Michael Strasner, John Maxwell, Lisa Nichols. And I teach on them today. I use them today. And I will tell you this, I haven't run into anybody yet that truly knows how to craft them. It's really quite amazing. I had a gentleman, I gave a talk at the Business Professionals Breakfast on Zoom back in October. Mm-hmm. Everybody went around, introduced themselves, and there was this gentleman named Fabio, right? He had the curly black hair, and he was, now he'd been a business coach for 25 years, 10 times longer than me, right?
Right.
And when it came time in my presentation, and I said, who's willing to raise their hand and give me their definition of an empowering question? I knew he was going to raise his hand, Patty.
Right.
And he did.
Yep.
So he starts talking, and apparently he's talking, and I kind of did this in the Zoom. And then he did this, and I kind of did this, and he did this, and everybody's watching, and I'm like, he says, I'm not getting. I said, yeah, no cigar, dude. No, listen, he's been in this business for 25 years, right? And so that's one of the things that got me the name, the Queen of Reframe.
Oh, sweet.
Empowering questions allow you to reframe from focusing on what isn't working, and they open you to opportunities you've never even considered. What do I mean by that? When you create and you craft it correctly, an empowering question, you're putting it out to God and the universe, and you're saying, I'm willing to see, say, hear, or do something I've never thought of before.
Right.
They cause you to wonder, right? To get curious. And there's a caveat. You don't sit around and try to figure the answer out. And let me tell you, when I can get my clients to do this, some are resistant, but man, have I seen massive transformations, and in my own life as well. So fast forward from, that was summer of 2015. And what was I doing? I was staying in resistance.
Habits. We have habits. We have our brain, our subconscious, our limiting beliefs. And that's what I work with people about, Carol. You know, all these things stand in our way. We stand in our own way. So I'm so excited. I hope our viewers and listeners have been listening to what she's been saying all this time, Carol. You've given so many, these aha moments have been flashing into my head to be able to get out to the world. Fantastic.
So fast forward to the fall of 2017, I now had my second coaching certification, and I was still holding on to 3 products and services that I was trying to sell into corporate America because it was my familiar zone.
Right.
Here's a writer downer for your audience. Just because it's familiar doesn't make it comfortable.
That's wow. That is amazing. That's true. It's true. Yeah.
Often people say, oh, well, I stayed because I was comfortable. No, you weren't. You was just familiar, right? Okay. And when I realized that, and the only place you grow is outside of your comfort zone, I knew I had to get out of my comfort zone. The other thing that catapulted me to doing this full time is I learned a clear difference between being committed to something and being convicted. Because most often people say, I'm committed, right? I'm committed to this marriage for life until the day I'm not. See, people decommit all the time.
Right.
But when you're convicted, you won't rest until you get it done.
Oh, this is all right. Viewers and listeners, really take note of these things, because just the words that we use with ourselves, yes, it's huge. It's huge. And I know, I already knew that with what I do with working, but with my clients, but Carol, these things are ahas for me. So, this is beautiful.
And here's the thing we have to remember when we're convicted to do something, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, is that your comfort and your convenience and your conviction don't live on the same block. They're not even in the same zip code.
Ooh, okay.
You got to get uncomfortable. You got to do things that are inconvenient in order to get from where you are to where you say you wanted to go. So I, at that time, made the decision, and I dropped those other services, and I went all in on being a coach. Now, here's what's unique. In December, that was December of 2017, right before I gave up these 3 products and services, I was talking to someone at Nova Southeastern University. This was another pivotal time when I chose to trust in someone else's vision for me. Okay. So I had shared with her about these products and services, and I had met her before, and she asked a little bit about my coaching. She knew that I'd kind of been pursuing it or whatever. And we walked back across campus when our meeting was over, and she stopped and she looks me up and down. It's something about these people that look me up and down, right? And she says, I know what I'm going to do for you. I said, what? She She said, I'm going to hire you. I said, to do what? She said, to speak. I said, to speak? And she literally said, don't give me that bullshit. You're a speaker. And I said, who am I going to speak to? Now, remember, I had just showed her these 3 products that I was trying to sell into large corporations, right? She said, I'm going to put you in front of 50 or 60 of the top HR people and top corporations of South Florida. I was like, wow. When? This is December 9th. I said, when? She said, March, maybe April. I thought, oh my God, I'm in the frying pan, right? And then I said, well, how long am I going to speak for? She said, 90 minutes. I went, 90 minutes? Now I'm in the fire, right?
Right.
And she says, don't give me that. Just send me your CV and your fees. My fees? I'm going to get paid for my first speaking gig? Who does that happen to? Right? So as God would have it, it didn't happen in March and April. It didn't happen until August the 9th. But the beautiful thing was, I got into this office situation, which turned out to be a horrible thing. I lost about 35 grand on this. It was a bad deal. But I met 2 amazing people while I was there. One, her name was Lori, and she got on my team because she's a content writer. Important.
Yes, very important.
The other one is Heather. Heather is big into HR. So Heather decided she wanted me to come speak to the HR department at Kaiser University and do a workshop there. But Heather wasn't the final decision maker. And the lady who was kept giving me a hard time. Oh, I'm not sure you're right for our group. I'm not sure that's the right topic. And Lori said, Carol, just don't do it. I said, no, I am not going to show up at Nova Southeastern University for my first paid gig, never having done one before, even though it wasn't the exact same workshop. So off I go. I go to Kaiser. I get it done. I come back, and I told you earlier, I'll bring it up to your
right.
I tore the title off and put it on the wall. Got prepared for Nova. Go to Nova 1 week later, 6:45 in the morning. My BFF was with me to help me set up, and there was 2 speakers. Now, here's an important thing that I didn't know at the time. That speaker got paid more money because she had written a book. They told me that. Well, she's written a book.
Right.
Now, listen to their thinking. She's written a book. She must be a better speaker.
Oh, okay. Right.
So we get there, it was, and they were getting CE units, credits. It had to pass the national HR thing, my whole thing that I put together.
Right.
And so I walk into the room and I hear this booming voice, and you can just, Carol Boston. And I look up, and the lady who hired me looks at this man, and she goes, Barry, you know Carol? Barry goes, Carol's the only reason I'm here. I was like, oh no, what pressure.
Love it.
Barry and I had worked together for 10 years back in the 90s at AT&T.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
He now works for Nova Southeastern University. So I decided I would go and help while my friends are getting breakfast, I would go help the other speakers set up, get to know her, right?
Right.
And she had 19 degree titles behind her name. She wrote a book on the brain and all this stuff, French Canadian. So I'm helping her set up, and she kind of leans in. She goes, so Carol, how long have you been on the circuit? I said, what circuit? She goes, the speaking circuit. I go, oh, I'm not supposed to tell you. She goes, why not? I said, last Thursday was my first one. This is my second one. She looked at me like I had lost my mind, right? Like I had lost my mind.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So we sit down, she's doing her thing, and about halfway through her thing, my friend Rebecca goes, can I just take a nap? I go, Rebecca, don't say that. Don't act like that, right? So when it was getting close to my time, I went to the restroom, and I'm out stretching in the back. And the lady who hired me comes out, grabs me by the shoulders, gets in my face, and says, you are going to increase the energy in the room, are you? I said,
she's like,
absolutely.
So you're like, that's why I was stretching.
I was like, absolutely. I said, I'm just concerned there might not be enough time for all my content. She goes, that's what we want is good content. You're not using those damn slides, are you? I said, nope, I don't use slides. She goes, oh, good. So here's one of my first lessons I learned as a speaker, whether you're paid or not. Take your own time cards. Because she was going to do my time for me, and I had 45 minutes. I had everything, practiced and mapped out. And here I am, things are going along really well. And over to the side, I see her hold up this little time card. Well, she wrote it in a little ink pen. I couldn't see that far. Right. And I just said, I can't read that. So she tells me, and I get them busy in an exercise, and I'm thinking, I got more time than that. We started 15 minutes late. So I walked over and I told her. She goes, oh, I'll fix the time card. You're right. So I go back, things are going really well. Now she's at the back of the room with my BFF who was taking videos. And she holds up another time card and she's further away. Now this audience is just laughing. She's laughing with me, right? I'm like, I cannot even possibly read that.
Right.
They both spoke at the same time. What I heard was 3 minutes. And I'm thinking, 3 minutes? I said, give me 4 and I'll wrap this up. So I wrapped it up. Everybody's standing up there clapping. She makes a beeline, gets in my ear. She goes, we didn't say 3 minutes. We said 30. Sit them down and teach them something.
Holy smokes. Oh my goodness. What a riot. Oh my.
The people who knew me, who had, like Heather was there, she knew me. And there was a couple of women that were at the Kaiser the week before. The people that knew me said those last 30 minutes, I was so totally in my element. I would sit them down. Let's do Q&A. Let's talk. And one of the things people will hear me say is that's a writer downer.
Ooh,
and it's funny. I started that like over 3 years ago. And now I hear big people saying it, like Suzanne Evans says it, right? But this was over 3 years ago. I did
Get that on paper.
I didn't. But so in this Q&A, I gave them a golden nugget. And there's a lady on the front row. She goes, oh, that's another writer downer. That should have given me a clue, right? To protect it. Right. So after it was all said and done, one of the ladies that had seen me, and I want y'all to listen to this. This is the third time, but you've only heard 2 stories, that I trusted in someone else's vision for me. So I'm packing up my stuff, getting congratulations, whatever. And 2 things happened. One, a lady who had heard me at Kaiser, she was a tall German lady, right? She's taller than me. So I'm looking up her, and this is exactly what she does. She goes, Carol, you were good last week at Kaiser. And then she pauses. And I'm waiting. And then she starts grinning. She goes, you were fucking amazing today.
Fantastic. Oh my God. Oh, what I can't even imagine. I would be like, oh.
This lady walks up and she says, do you have a card? And I said, yes. And I introduced myself and she said, I'm Jackie so-and-so, I'm the director of HR for American Express, and I want you to come give this to American Express. I want to hire you. And I said, do you have a card? And she said, no. And I'm thinking, look, I've been in sales too long. The salesperson has to follow up, right? She goes, I'll reach out to you. I thought, I'll never hear from her again.
Right.
This was in August of 2018. In 2019, I was hired 6 times by American Express to come in and teach them. Because I trusted someone else's vision, right?
Wow. Amazing.
That's stepped me into the process of being here today.
Oh, what a story. Carol. Oh my goodness. So yeah. So that reluctant entrepreneur definitely, went from, that's kicking it into high gear right there. Oh my goodness. So now let me ask you, because you've had such success with that. Now, what is it? What does your experience, having been a professional athlete for 26 years, how does that help you in sales and what you do today?
You can act your way into feeling. And so same thing in sales. I don't care how much rejection you get. You got to show up every day.
Yeah, that is so true. So true.
Nobody else is putting money in your pocket. And everybody, listen up. You're selling yourself every day, whether you're in sales or not.
That is true. And that's what I talk with my clients a lot about too, because many people have no one wants to come off salesy and no one wants to be sold to. But every single day we are selling ourselves personally and professionally for those connections and those relationships.
Absolutely. And she says, well, what's the second thing you have to do? Listen, entrepreneurs, I said, you got to be willing to practice when everybody else is resting. And I said, that doesn't mean that you never take a vacation, but there are times, I talked about that on my Facebook Live on my page today. There are times, think about this. How many entrepreneurs and people rested during Thanksgiving and Christmas? And yet, how many people are hungry looking at the end of the year for that answer to start the new year?
Right.
But you were resting.
Right.
At the end of my freshman year, I didn't start playing tennis till I was 15. That's one of the stories we haven't told, is how I got a tennis scholarship, was trusting in someone else's vision. But I got to LSU on a half scholarship and a loan. but I got to play number 6, and only the top 6 get to play singles, and the top 3 play doubles. So I knew I was playing with people better than me. Listen up, folks. You got to surround yourself with people that are better than you to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I plugged away all year long. Well, the summer came at the end of my freshman year, and all these other people, ladies, they took the summer off. Well, I went on the 21 and under tour. And as part of what I did on that tour is I would practice with the men. They hit the ball a whole lot harder, a whole lot faster. Let me tell you, honey, I had bruises when I couldn't get out of the way of their serve sometimes, right?
Right. And I'm sure they were eating that up, but yet then they had respect for you, Carol, because you were there. Because you showed up. You showed up for not only yourself, but you showed up for women and representing women's capabilities.
Absolutely. So I come back my sophomore year. We had tryouts in August, and guess what happened? All the same women were on the team, except we had one new freshman. I went from playing number 6 to playing number 2. Before the end of that semester, I was playing number 1 and got a full scholarship, which had been my goal. And then I went on to be the team captain for 3 years.
Sweet. Oh my goodness.
So when I call myself a business leadership coach, I really started out as a leadership coach. But when I look back over my history of how I stepped into leadership and how we have to grow, and I talk to people, I say, look, how many of you have heard, oh, he's a born leader, right? How many of you have said that? Oh, I said, no, he wasn't. He might be born outgoing or charismatic or gregarious, but you have to learn leadership skills and tools and principles, right?
Right.
So going from tennis, so I bring the discipline of what it took to get that done and the savvy of what it takes to be in a sales career that successful for that long. And I bring that to bear on my clients.
Right.
Christian Michelson, whom I got my second certification from, at the end of 17, you're going to laugh at this, Patty. We were on a phone call. There was no Zoom with about 100 people. And he says, Carol, you're a sales coach. I said, I don't want to be a sales coach. He said, it's the hottest niche with the fewest good coaches, and you are really good. And I said, I don't want to be a sales coach. And you heard him kind of sigh. He kind of went, oh, okay, Carol, what do you want to do? Right? Because you have to get in a niche, right?
Right.
And I said, my ideal client knows and accepts that they are 100% responsible for their experience of life. Patty, this man groaned so loudly. He went, oh my God. Personal development, Carol, that sounds like work. Nobody's paying for work. He said, sell them what they want and give them what they need. Excuse me.
Well, and so this is resonating with me, Carol. This is resonating with me because I am in that same genre, but yet again, for me, I want to work with, and I prefer to work with people who really want and they are ready to put the work into achieving their dreams and goals. So I'm listening in because this is my lane too.
Yep. So I started off calling myself an executive leadership coach, and people they would talk to me and they'd say, oh, I know you can help me. And then they would run away going, I know I can't afford you. And they would run off. And I'm like, how do you know? They just decided, right? We do things on assumption. I must be 20, 30 grand if I'm an executive. I'm only working with CEOs, right?
Right.
So they would run away. So I dropped executive off and I called myself a leadership coach. And I got busy. And about a year later, I went to a private mastermind with Suzanne Evans. And I came back and I told Lori on my team, I'm like, Lori, either I just don't know how to explain myself or Suzanne just doesn't get me. She said, what's up? And I said, Suzanne says I'm a business coach. I said, I'm not a business coach. And Lori said, what do your clients call you when they introduce you? I went, oh, they say, meet Carol, my amazing business coach. And she helped me see that the leadership principles and tools and habits and the things that I was getting them to embrace and do, the end result is most of my clients have doubled and tripled their income. Right. Now, in my mind, that's not what I set out to do for them. I mean, I knew they wanted to grow their revenues, and it was kind of funny. So I started calling myself a business leadership coach, and it's kind of a combination of both. I have one of my past clients. She's the dog mystic. Cool. Listen, Patty, you would like her.
Yeah, I bet I would.
She owns a dog training company, and she and her boyfriend before COVID were doing doga. So people would come to the park and they would bring their dogs, and her boyfriend would lead the yoga, and she did healing energy for all the dogs.
Ooh, that
Pretty
would be
cool.
cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and part of her testimonial was is that it specifically says something like, the first part of working with Carol, I needed to work on my personal life and my personal leadership. And then the second part, we worked on my business, but it resulted in me doubling my business in 6 months. She doubled her income in 6 months.
Right, because it is.
And
It's that puzzle, how those pieces fit together, and it has everything to do with our mindset, our habits, and and like you said, our commitment, and even more to showing up for ourselves so that we can serve more.
exactly. And I'm in the process of writing out all my content. I'm putting together a course that I'm going to sell. And it's called Limitless Leadership, 7 Steps to an Unstoppable Business.
Oh, love it,
And,
fantastic.
and one of those steps is, and we barely touched on it today, is how to become a professional athlete in your business.
Oh,
Today, I entitled my Facebook Live, how would you feel if you won a gold medal in your business?
oh, that is sweet, Carol. Oh my
Right? Think
goodness.
about it.
Yeah,
Think about it. And
yeah,
I even said on my live, I said, close your eyes and picture yourself with that big old gold medal hanging around your neck.
yeah.
Because sometimes that's what we have to do, just to keep going. But when you talked earlier, when you asked me earlier about empowering questions and being the queen of reframe,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give your audience a freebie here. Empowering questions never, ever, ever start with the word why. You want to write that down. That's a writer downer.
Okay.
Why?
Yes. Write her
Write it
down.
down.
Write it down, guys. Okay.
Why brings in defensiveness, which brings in the ego, which brings in the emotions. And when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. It's true for every human being. So I'll give you like one quick example that everybody can relate to. And I want to give you one quick client example.
Okay. Great.
So your child comes home from school, and let's say they have or maybe you don't have children and your parents did this to you. My parents did this to me. And you have a grade on your report card that your parent doesn't like. What does the parent typically say? Why did you get that grade? And what's the first thing the child's going to do? They're going to defend themselves. Now the emotions are in, ego's up. I got to protect my ego. I got to have a position here. And what does it do? It leads to an argument. It doesn't get anything done.
Right.
But what if you had asked that child this question? What one thing? Because when you're doing empowering questions, they're going to be specific and time bound.
Okay.
What one thing could you do differently to improve upon that grade next semester? I want you to think about that. Now you have the child thinking. They're not shamed. They're not embarrassed. And if they come up with the answer, guess what? They're way more likely to do it.
Exactly. Oh, fantastic. That's a great explanation on how to create those questions, Carol. That right there really brings it together. Wow.
And that same client, my dog Mystic, when she first came to see me, this is back when I had an office, and she was right on time. And by the 4th time, she's seriously late. I mean, she had been getting progressively late. So I'm the shake your hand, give you a hug girl. So she comes in, I give her a big hug, and I sit her down and I said, look, get out your pen and paper. We are not going to let this coaching opportunity pass by. And she kind of looks at me because we don't typically jump in quite like that.
Right.
And the first thing I had her write down, and you want to write this down too, is how I do anything is how I do everything.
Mm-hmm. I love
And we
that.
don't want to own that a lot. Now, I want you to think back on a time that you were late for a meeting. We've all done it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And typically, what does someone say? Why are you late? And you start giving yourself a defensive story. Well, she's a human being too, and I didn't even ask her why she was late. She started to try to give me a story. Remember, I'm not going to ask the why question. It would have gotten us nowhere.
Right. That's true.
And I said to her, I don't need a story because this is not about you being late. She said, it's not? I said, no. She said, what's it about? And I said, I want you to write this down. It's about where else in your life are you not showing up for you? And she kind of looked at me and she goes,
That's huge.
huh?
Carol, that's huge. Fantastic. Oh my goodness. Write
And
this
she
down.
goes,
Write this down.
write it down. And she said, what? I said, listen, you pay me in advance for my time. I'm not giving you any money back. And I'm not going to give you extra time because I have a schedule that I keep.
Right.
Write it down. And so she sheepishly kind of looked at me. She goes, is that my homework for the week? I said, honey, that's your homework ad nauseum. I want it on your dashboard, your refrigerator, your mirror. I want you to put that out to God in the universe out loud 8 to 10 times a day, and do not sit around and try to figure out the answer. That's an empowering question. Now, a few weeks goes by. She's back in my office. We're working on some business things. And all of a sudden, Patty, her eyes light up and she goes, I said, what? She goes, that's another area where I'm not showing up for me. Powerful.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Empowering questions create awareness.
Yes.
Right? I say they create Oprah aha moments. She just had an Oprah aha moment. What did that question do? It got her out of her jar. And yes, I have taken the title of that book and put it in writing and dated and timestamped it and sent it to somebody.
Yes, you go, girl. Oh,
as an IP attorney just told me, she goes, how many podcasts have you been on? And you said that's the title of your next book. She goes, put it in writing.
Yes.
Okay, done.
Yes, most definitely, because again, therefore, we all have intellectual property, and much of what, but you know, the thing is, much of what we all teach, what you teach, what I teach, much of it has been around and used by so many people previously. It's not that we're creating anything new, it's how we configure it to make it work with us and our personality and how we can best serve people. You know, so it is, but still it is. When we take that and form it, that becomes our intellectual property. And that's why it's so important. Like, you know, you were given advice by an IP attorney to actually, to get it on paper and claim it for yourself, because
she said, get it on paper, date it, timestamp it, and send it to somebody.
Yes.
In an email, which I did.
Right.
But you're so right, because you know, the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun.
That's true.
What you just said is perfectly true. We're taking what's already been done and making it ours and changing it up.
Right.
Yeah.
And because and that's what I have people that come on as guests on my show, Carol, just like you are today, that do very similar things to what I do and serve very similar clients that I serve. And people say, well, doesn't it bother you, or aren't you concerned with having other people on your show that, you know, I was like, no, for me, I don't have that feeling. I don't have that feeling of, well, I could be giving a client to someone else because they're feeling connected to that person better. Because for me, it is best that I service the people that connect with me the best, and that's going to be a win for more people that way. You know, that's
and let me tell you, for whoever asked you that, listen up.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we're trying so hard to hold on to what we think is ours that our hands are never open for all that the universe has to give us.
Beautiful. Oh, Carol, that is beautiful.
And I was listening to Pastor Stephen Furtick. He's out of North Carolina, great pastor. And he went to the doctor because he said his elbow was killing him. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor examines him, and the doctor goes, it's golfer's elbow. It's a lot like tennis elbow. And Stephen said, but I don't play either one of those sports. I just lift a lot of weight. And the doctor leaned in and he said, yep. And you could lift a lot more weight if you will loosen your grip. Think about it, folks. Think about it. What are you trying? Listen, when you try to hold on so hard to yesterday's blessings, you miss today's miracles. You miss today's miracles.
Write that down, people. Write that down. Seriously, it's so many words of wisdom coming from you, Carol. And I hope our viewers and listeners are really taking notes for this. So, Carol, can you tell us what one of your favorite client stories?
I had a female family lawyer. This is back in October of 2018. And she had heard me speak at a luncheon. And she walked up and she goes, I got to talk to you. So she comes in. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I knew she was my ideal client when we were walking down the hallway.
What was it what flagged for you?
She kept walking behind me. She wasn't walking next to me as a peer, as an equal. So I already knew some of her challenges. I was there many, many years ago, right? So my clients fill out a very detailed intake form. And the two main reasons she said she hired me, She wanted confidence. She goes, I want to be like you. I want to know that when I walk in a room, I have something of value to say. And she said, I want to hit the weekly income goals in my practice.
Right.
Now, for anybody who's heard me speak or whatever, 3 of the tools that I taught on a lot in corporate America is tacking. I took it from a boating term and adapted it to what I do.
Mm-hmm.
The art of celebration, and it ties in with empowering questions, right?
Right.
Then I have what I call my secret sauce. Now, I don't tell anybody, not even my clients, what it is. I get them to try to add it in, right? This woman was so resistant. October goes by. She was not doing it. November goes by. Not doing it. Finally, the week after Thanksgiving, she shrugs her shoulders, rolls her eyes at me, and she goes, okay, Carol, I'll do it. And I said, will you do it consistently? She says, yes. That was the week after Thanksgiving. January through May, we tripled her income every month over the year before.
Oh, fantastic. Oh.
Now, that's not the most exciting thing to me. Remember, she said she came to me for confidence.
Right.
In January, this was a 6-month program, which normally would have ended at the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
Early January, part of her homework was to go to the Broward Women's Alliance and sign up to be a speaker. I thought she was going to wet her pants. It took her a few weeks to go do it, even though I knew they didn't have any open spots right now.
Oh, so
Sometimes
you knew ahead of time, but still,
you gotta get into
just to
action.
get her to take that step. Right. Exactly.
And so there we are, the first week of March. We finish our session. She kind of looks me up and down. I'm telling you, it's something about these women who look me up and down. She looks me up and down, and she says, so, Carol, you think you can get me ready to run for judge? I'm like, not in 2 weeks. When's the election? She said, it's in 2020. And I said, when? She said, November. I said, you're going to hire me for another 18 months? She said, you're going to get me ready? I'm like, hell yeah. She said, write it up. That woman immediately went on to become the president of her BNI. This is a woman that didn't want to speak outside of the courtroom. Became president of her BNI, where she does what? She speaks every week, right? And we got her prepared to run for judge. She's young. She hasn't owned her law firm a long time. She got to the 3rd round, which is astounding progress.
That's huge.
Right?
That's huge. Yes.
And now planning for the next one. That's what I love. All of my clients every one of them, have grown massively, massively in confidence. And we start them understanding it comes from the big position that confidence is not a feeling.
That is huge.
And if you want to understand how that works, you're going to have to come talk to me, because
yes,
you got to come talk to me.
Exactly. So, for our viewers and listeners, this has been a fabulous, fabulous conversation. It really has. I have had so many aha moments here for myself. So just the content is fantastic. So Carol, now you've shared so much, but now I'm going to ask if you want to share some more. Do you have any gifts for our viewers and listeners?
Absolutely. What I've crafted it in 2 places, so you can go 2 places to get it. If you want to get to know me better and let me get to know you, and you want to come join my group on Facebook, it's the Year with No Fear group. Please answer the questions to get in. And then there you're going to get your first freebie, which is 5 empowering questions to jumpstart your 2021. If you prefer to go to my website, www.carolboston.com, you can scroll down and the freebie's right there for you as well. You can download the freebie. Either way, I encourage you to get it. I know that you don't exactly know how to craft them, but just trust me and start putting them, and you can use them. I crafted them such that you can use them in different areas of your life. It doesn't have to be all business. But if you want to learn more about that,
Right.
come join the group.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, Carol. And, again, this has been the Rise Above show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. And when I say turn believers into achievers, what I'm saying is you believe in yourself, believe you are worthy, believe you are capable. This alone, every single one of us have had struggles. And it's just to have that courage and consistency to keep on going. So again, I want to thank the sponsor of my show, 133 Approved Funding. And for people who want to find out more about me, you can go to patriciajogrover.com. And if you text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786, I have gifts for you right there. I have a little video. And again, thank you, Carol, for being with me today. This has been a fabulous, fabulous share.
Thank you.
See everybody again.